see any sort of, I don't know, development or changes that are good or giving you hope for the world?
Yeah, I think yes. Sometimes it's not. It's not positive. Like
No.
the kind of rise of kind of asylum seekers coming to this country, and the kind of mental health of being kind of being in war zones and stuff, and or even LGBT people finding asylum here as well. I found more people were coming to my groups, and then. And that's the thing, through war and suffering there comes pain, and there becomes trauma, and that does have an impact. I think like all of the kind of lockdown measures and the losses that we've had through kind of COVID, we're going to see a real increase like going forward. But I don't know. It's difficult to predict things. I think there's more. I've seen more awareness growing. In kind of mental health and kind of and it being the fact that we all have mental health. And like people will have a struggle at some point in their life. And just the real belief in recovery. Belief in recovery and something like I in my early years of working in mental health, I was very vicariously traumatized through the work I was doing. I was working too much with a very trauma heavy caseload of people. I was working with LGBT people, so I identified so much with their trauma. So I took that trauma on myself, and it felt mine. I soaked it up. But I had counselling.
I just want to say, how do you learn to deal with that? Like you had your own, so then you had your own therapist or something to get you through that time. Do you still have that now? That you feel it's quite challenging, confronting, maybe?
I think there's kind of taboos around therapy. People don't talk about it enough. I always like to tell people I've had therapy. People think like you have to be broken to have it, and that's wrong. It's like if you take it into kind of a allegory of like a machine, that needs maintenance. And I feel like
people are fine having a massage. It's kind of the same thing, right? Like you're just looking after yourself.
Unfortunately, like things all cost money, I did have some therapy for a time, and that was really good for me. I had a bereavement recently, and I went and had some bereavement counselling from an amazing service that did like free bereavement counselling for people, like a charitable organisation. So there is stuff out there. I think if you even have just a curiosity about what therapy might do for you, I just think go for it. Just have a go, see what it's like. Like you don't have to open up if you don't want to. Like I think I learned that through yoga as well. Like
absolutely.
It's just kind of like we're always an unfinished story. You can there can always be more that you can add to, and kind of reading back over
beautiful way of looking at it.
And how you are like is from how you were before. And I just think it's great to give yourself that space, and that's something I learned through yoga, just simply in the kind of like relaxation at the end, when somebody just said to me like, just thank yourself for giving yourself this time. And I was like, I remember like the first time someone said that to me, and it made me cry, because I was like, I'm allowed, like I'm allowed to give myself time. And it's the same. It's the same therapy. It's like you're worth it. You
absolutely
deserve,
the best investment is an investment in yourself. Like that is what Erica, a friend of mine, told me once, and she's in one of the other episodes as well, and it's so true. It's like, look after yourself. And I think, because for you, like mental health, do you like working in it, do you really enjoy it? Like, is it something that you're like, wow, you know, this is like, is it a calling for you, or like, how do you see it?
I wouldn't see it as a calling. I think I'm good at it.
Yeah.
I've seen good happen through the work that I do.
Yeah.
And that gives you something like with any work, that kind of satisfaction. And I love people. I find people so interesting. So it's just it's fascinating for me to work in it. But it's very challenging. I think I think anybody wanting to go into a career in mental health, I think you have to be prepared to have your own therapy, to look at your own stuff. It feels like someone's holding a mirror up to you. And through people I work with, they've experienced a huge amount of trauma in their lives, and that makes them act in sometimes a really unpleasant way, and they can not be thankful for my support, and there's a lot of hate there, and I can absorb that, and you know, so it's really important to kind of counterbalance it, and to kind of to not, unfortunately, because of the kind of way capitalism works, that it's a very underpaid industry working often, and it means that you have to work probably way more hours than is healthy to be able to live. So that, but for me, I just I have a lot of energy.
Yeah, I know.
So I just you know, from working in a kitchen, you set me off, and I'll just keep going forever.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, never stops. Alfie never stops.
But it's making sure that you have your time for yourself, for your own well-being, for your own
absolutely
life.
I think that's something that I think lots of people underestimate, especially I think in mental health, is to completely be absorbed in the other people and forgetting about yourself. I think that's do you feel like you got better at that? Definitely.
I think there's a bit of a kind of superhero complex.
Savior. I can do this. I'm gonna save them all. And like super healthy.
Like I don't need rest. I don't. I'm fine.
Yes, kind of, I sleep when I'm dead. Blah.
Which I mean, I learned that kind of attitude a bit from chefing as well. I just keep going kind of thing. But you know, it's interesting. The people I support taught me, because I said, you know, you can't just give all the time to everybody in your life. You need resources for yourself, otherwise you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
I just had to use that same language on myself. I started writing my own kind of care plans. All of the paperwork I use with the people I support, I use it for myself.
And I think in general, like, that's good. I mean, the way you treat, exactly what you just said, like you want to, you know, other people to treat you how you treat others. And I think that's kind of coming back to this as well. Like, if you're looking after others, you got to look after yourself as well. I mean, it's the same when we're flying, right? And they explain the emergency plan, and it's like, first you put that mask on yourself, and then you start saving others. I think that's how we need to view our life, you know, because you first, you know, that's definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And but I don't know, maybe it's being English and the kind of self-deprecation or something.
Absolutely.
But that kind of like that being allowed, that kind of I deserve care too. So that's definitely something I've worked on, and and so supported by great friends like you, Carrie.
Thanks, Alfie. Yeah, no, it's important to we always look after each other. That's the most important thing. And we're kind of slowly wrapping up, because I can talk to you forever. But there was one thing that I was wondering, like from a UK point of view, how are things for the LGQBT community there? Like, how do you feel it? How do you view it? You know, is there support? Like, you know, what's going on?
I mean, I live in Brighton, which is kind of a privileged place to be if you're LGBT. It's like we have one of the biggest prides, and unfortunately that's been live streamed rather than in person this year. But something that is amazing in Brighton is they have trans pride, because obviously you've got the LGBT, but like trans issues are there's a lot of battles that are not won, basically. And I just think it's amazing that they have their own space and last time, like last year when it could be on before COVID, and just going, it's pride, but it's a protest. It's still political, and it's just it made me cry with joy to see that many kind of trans people and trans allies together marching.
Absolutely.
And fighting for their rights, because I mean in the UK it varies country to country, but the kind of you basically to transition, you have to, the systems in place are just completely archaic, like red tape. Basically, you have to kind of like justify to people that you are trans, and it has to be passed by this kind of board of people, and there's only like 4 people on the board for the whole of England. And recently there was some new bills that were going to be hopefully passed, which was about self-identification bill that was going through government, and unfortunately, because we have a conservative government that's very right, it just got completely voted smashed. So that I think that's the thing. There's so much stuff going on in the world as well, in terms of like Poland with their president pledging to kind of get rid of LGBT ideologies, and like in Russia with the kind of the anti-LGBT propaganda laws
it's crazy,
to kind of protect children and things. So there's some really kind of awful stuff and fights that need fighting,
proper
still.
Fighting.
So that's painful, but there's
really good things happening too.
There's really good things happening as well. The kind of Black Lives Matter movement, the kind of acknowledgement of Black trans lives.
I mean, that's also, I think, that's something to also be really mindful of and communicative of. Is about most of the trans lives that are lost. Many of these trans people are people of color, and we seem to just not even care. Because we don't care about trans people. We definitely don't care about trans people who are from, who are color people. It's crazy. Yeah. So, but I'm really glad that you're, that you're mentioning at least. Change. Yeah, exactly. That there's
slow change.
Yeah.
I mean, the Supreme Court in America, they passed that kind of thing about protection for LGBT workers. Like, like. For many years, gay men weren't allowed to give blood because of HIV in England, and that was changed in like 2017. Like India, like 2018, I think they legalized just being gay. And I was traveling in India at a time when it was illegal, and obviously being white, I had the privilege of that, and it wasn't a risk to me. But I met gay.
There's some crazy stories.
So it's just so the change is happening.
Change is happening.
Seeing people on the streets. The fight is not won, and you just got to keep going with it.
Definitely.
And supporting what you can.
Definitely. So you mentioned some really good things in the UK, and for the people listening, so I'm here in Amsterdam, and tomorrow, if you are in Amsterdam, there's going to be a really important march. Black Queer Trans Resistance is, as I mentioned before, a cause that I've been following, and tomorrow, the 25th, they're doing a march from Oosterpark to Museumplein. So between 6 and 7, you can come to Museumplein. It's all free. I'm sure, just look them up, because I'm sure there are some COVID rules in there, but I think it's a really important thing to, if we are here in Amsterdam, like to and then we were mentioning, Alfie, before I hit record, we were mentioning to just say like, look up your local communities, look up what you can do. How can we help? Because I feel even if you're not gay, or, if you're not non-binary, if you're not trans, like all of this stuff, like you still can help, you can amplify the voices that need to be heard. And you can be there for your community, and we're all, we need to love and serve and be there for one another, I feel.
Definitely, yeah. One thing